What's up, future and fellow coffee truckers? My name is Vincent, Green Joe Coffee Truck here, aka Green Joe Coffee School. We're slowly rebranding. So I want to talk a little bit about the Harbor Freight 9500 generators. Great generators, really like them, especially for the price point. You know, on Black Friday, we got one for 1,900 bucks. We opted into the 2-year warranty, which is great. And they're quiet generators. You know, they're like to say they're like a little bit less than 70 decibels. Big, 24 by 24 by 30. But the biggest issue with them is that the outlet on the generator, the physical outlet itself, which you plug your extension cord into, it's a 220 outlet, great. It'll power espresso machine, awesome. But it's only 30 amps. Now, my espresso machine is 21 amps, 21.4. It's a Astoria Product Avant. And as you guys know, those are my favorites. But the problem with that is now I'm left with 9 amps and I can't power an entire unit off of 9 amps. And what happens is when you try to power the entire unit off of that 30 amp outlet on the generator, it has an overload surge protector, flips a switch, shuts down the generator, and kaput, you don't have any more power. So unfortunately, you're not able to power the entire unit off of that one outlet. Now, it does come with 4 outlets. It's got the 30 amp 220 outlet. It also has a 30 amp 120 outlet or 110 outlet. And then it's got 2 20 amp 110 outlets. Now, we did some experiments and we found out that you can run the 30 amp and also the other 20 amps at the same time. I didn't test the 30 amp 120 to see if the 30 amp 120 would work with the 30 amp 220. I didn't test that, but I did test the 220 amps, and absolutely it'll provide power to all 3 outlets at the same time. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll walk you out to a unit that we've been working on here. All right, so check this out. So this is one of our coffee truck builds that we've been working on. Beautiful build, really enjoyed working on this one. Here is the Predator. So listen, this is what I'm talking about. You only have 30 amps at 220 or 240, same difference. But you only got 30 amps at 240. And when you try to power the entire unit off of this one cord, it doesn't work. You hit this overload alarm and it shuts the whole thing down. So you have to be able to plug in these 20 amps. Now, our workaround for that is we created 2 more inlets. Inlet for the coffee pot, inlet for the mini split. So we got 3 inlets. Now, I'll put all these together and make them look all nice, but that's still an issue. Let me walk you into the unit. Sorry about the mess. So here's the Astoria Product Avant. Sorry if I'm yelling at you, the generator's going on. So, as you can see, it's 21 amps. So it's powering this, no problem. I also have a coffee pot on right now. It's powering this, no problem. So I got power to my coffee pot, I got power to the Astoria, and I also have on my air conditioner unit. You can see I'm at 62, it's blowing cold air right now. So I have, this is 15 amps. This is 11 and a half, 11.4. So what is that? We're at 36, and then we have 21.4. So 36, 37, 37 plus 20 is 57. So we're over 50 amps. Look, I can even turn on my grinder. You know, I'm clearly over 50 amps. So it'll run the entire unit. That's not a problem. The problem is it will not run the entire unit off of one cord. So if you're trying to set up a main breaker to your panel here at 50 amps, well, that's great and everything, and you can go ahead and ask for 50 amps at your inlet here, but it won't give it to you. Okay, it won't power 50 amp breakers, 50 amp box off a 30 amp outlet. The surge protector fires off and goes into overload, and it just shuts the whole thing down. So the best workaround we've been able to figure out so far is creating separate inlets. And, you know, I got that 20 amp inlet. You saw I had 3 inlets. I had one big inlet. Obviously, inlet's the opposite of an outlet, so it's the male part. So I had one big inlet for my 30 amp that powered my espresso machine And I put my hot water heater on a switch. So it's also for my hot water heater. I just can't run them both at the same time. That's my personal preference for workflow. It's the way I'm able to power a lot of power on these units. I hate to drop the masterclass in this, but I go over this in the masterclass. We have a generator worksheet, and I show people how to kind of switch between the two different appliances. It's just the way that I route my energy, because what I've noticed is I don't use all my different appliances at the same time. So there's no need for me to power them all at the same time. But anyhow, going back to this, I have that espresso machine is on the 30 amp. I also put the hot water heater on that same outlet. I just put a switch on it. So if I need to, I just boop, turn the hot water heater off. It's my workflow. The way I do it when I come in the morning is I turn the hot water heater on and start making coffee. And then once I'm done making coffee and the hot water is on, I'll fill up my sinks and then of course turn it off, and then I'll power up the espresso machine. So I'm only using one heating element at a time. So that's how I can get away with having both heating elements on the same circuit. But yeah, man, that's the biggest thing that we've been able to work, how we're able to work around this is we just create those separate inlets. And so I have a 20 amp inlet for the 20 amp outlet on the generator, and that powers the mini split. And then I have another 20 amp inlet that goes to the 20 amp outlet on the generator, and then that one powers the coffee pot. So, and there's a couple other little things on that, because both of those, they're 20 amps, but I'm not using all the 20 amps. For example, I think the lights in the coffee pot are on the same, and the mini split's by itself. It doesn't have anything else on that circuit. But anyhow, I wanted to share that with you guys because it kicked my butt, and so if it saves you some headache, hopefully it doesn't kick your butt as much. All right, this is Vince, Green Joe Coffee School. Thanks.